Hello there. Welcome to Project Firefist, and welcome to the actual beginning of documentation for the project here. This is my original character Mandalorian kit that I'm going to be doing, and this is an informational resource and documentation channel for said project to kind of just be an extra resource out there for people to stumble across if they so desire, to help make their path a little bit easier maybe, kind of pay forward all the great resources I was able to find. So, with that said, this is the very beginnings of a project like this. This is where I've been at for a bit. This can last as long or as short as people feel comfortable with or feel like competent with when they are doing it. And this is a process that got me thinking about doing this not just as an external hard drive for myself, but putting it out there like this to document it in this channel. So this is the inspirational push into research and planning, right? And I say inspirational push because chances are you've been a fan of a setting of whatever you're doing for a little bit longer than you decide to tackle whatever project you're doing. A scale model, a diorama, miniature wargaming army, costuming, whatever, right? So it's not like you woke up, become a fan, and jump right into it. I mean, it's possible, but chances are you've already been a fan. But there's something that gives you that push, and that's that inspirational push to start. Then you go into the research stages kind of seamlessly from that push. And that helps you formulate a plan and some prep. And for some people, once they are fully content with their research and planning and everything, they can go right to the build and tackling it and not have to really vary too much or double back or anything like that. I know for me personally, it's a little bit more of an organic process where the research gets started at the very beginning, I obsess over it, and then the research never truly stops until the project is complete. Planning, is not quite going to go to the very end. It's going to be a plan to go through it, of course, but I just constantly research and double back and check things. I can't leave well enough alone, which is a good or a bad thing, depending upon what you're doing, I guess. But it's just different way people do things. So with that said, let's have some fun with this. I encourage you to share your thoughts on your own build, whatever that might have been. And should be cool. So there's only two images, the one you've been looking at and then another one. This first image is my inspirational muse image. This is that push that I was talking about. And then the second image is a image I put together using what's called Mando Creator. You can find it on the Mandalorian Mercs forum. And it is a great kind of what I call like a rough draft blueprint, because I'm not necessarily going to be verbatim the exact armor panel shapes, whatever that I selected, but it's more sort of rough in more or less what I like and rough in a color palette to see more or less ish how it could be. So with that said, those are the only two images. So this first image is my muse, as I call it. This is the push. I've liked Mandalorians before The Mandalorian. But this image comes from season 1 of The Mandalorian, the art book for season 1. This is a concept sketch, one of several for background Mandalorians. But this one jumped out to me the most. This image is predominantly gray with really, really dark gray to black and some orange accenting. The helmet visor trim has orange and the gauntlets are orange. The rest is like different shades of darker grays to lighter grays. And I really just like this image. It's the color palette. It's the fact that it's got a pretty beefy looking Kama, K-A-M-A. I really like that. I want to incorporate that for sure. And I can't really say too much else. It just speaks to me as a concept for a Mandalorian in the background. And it's an image every time I think about looking up Mandalorian images for research and just check things out. I always want to look at this image. When I first saw it, it kind of screamed out, "Hey, you know you got to do something, right?" And I'm like, yeah, I do. So that's what I call this my muse image for. I'm not looking to copy it verbatim. It's not like I'm trying to replicate this concept sketch, but this now allows me, or has allowed me to, I shouldn't say allow, it has pushed me into taking those steps, doing the research past just being a fan of the aesthetic and the look and really diving into it. Even though I'm not doing a canon character, which has plenty of planning in its own right, not like an original character where you can tweak it as you go and further personalize it, but plenty of planning to make sure you're accurate. But unlike that, I'm not looking to replicate here. I'm just looking to use it as a source of inspiration, based on a true story, if you will, type of situation. So I look to have both shoulder pads and everything else. But what this image did for me is what tends to happen when you start doing research in earnest for a project that you haven't done before in this capacity. What I mean is, it's really helped me open my eyes to the true depth and layers that are involved in a project like this. For example, miniature wargaming. When I got into that, I knew I was going to need paints and glue and brushes and the miniatures and the rules and all that jazz. But it's not until you really start researching and planning what you want to build there that you realize exactly what you're in for, or it becomes a realization that you are seeing what you're in for. And it can be a little bit almost overwhelming depending upon exactly what we're talking about. But it is also, I think, a really interesting stage because it's a deeper level of understanding than just the surface being a fan of it, if that makes any sense. So that happened here with Mandalorian armor for me. And I've done research on things like Stormtrooper stuff in the past as I, thought about potentially doing that. And it's great armor. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying it's basic. I'm just saying to me, Stormtrooper armor is a bit easier to digest the layers involved. But, for example, with Mandalorian armor, you may not even realize that there's both a flight suit and a flak vest as part of the soft armor pieces. Then you have the hard armor pieces, you have commas, you have, capes or whatever else. You have the gauntlets, and they in their own right are full of personality and different from each other potentially. And there's just a lot of little extra MacGuffins and bits and whatnot that really help the Mandalorian armor. Helps the Mandalorian armor stand out. It really helps it be more personalized and personable, unless, of course, you're doing, again, a canon character. But my point is, because this doesn't have quite the uniformity or even quite the symmetry that you find in, like, Stormtroopers or Clone Troopers or whatever else, and it's got a little bit more in terms of nuance to its soft armor pieces and whatnot, it's a realization that is... this is a bit more than maybe you thought. Not that you bargained for necessarily, because you can digest it, right? You can take your time in this stage to digest and process. So from there, once I kind of understood that, started looking into Mandalorian armor, realizing the different eras of Mandalorian armor, aesthetic a bit, and everything else, in an effort to have a plan of attack for my bit of kit, I really looked into, since this image was from the Mandalorian, I looked into the more modern or post-imperial armor designs, and to me this concept sketch looks like it's channeling the heavy armor that Paz Vizsla wears in Mandalorian in season 1, the heavy Mandalorian. So without having the same helmet or going quite as heavy with it necessarily, the concept art definitely seems to borrow that from the chest piece. So for that, when I did my own little mock-up, I made sure I utilized and incorporated heavy Mandalorian armor pieces. So that's why we have it in the torso, we have it on the shoulder pads, a bit on the legs here and there. But I wasn't trying just to make Paz Vizsla with a different helmet, not necessarily at all, just trying to incorporate a bit of a chunkier, robust feel, and also the comma and everything that I want to do. Now, with the Mando creator, it's not going to be 100% necessarily what you're envisioning, but it's really going to be helping in terms of roughing it in. So I get to see how the holster has to sit by the belt because there's a comma, right? And I get to see my color palette choices and kind of how to, lay it down on the armor. So one of the things I did for my planning and prep stage is that I realized I wanted a bit more of the orange across the armor, but carefully, because it is a strong color. It draws the eye. But that's why I wanted to do it. One of the things I noted with the Muse image, if you will, is that orange is a more subdued, kind of like an ochre orange, I guess, if that makes any sense. But even still, I find I'm constantly drawn to those places, not just because it's my favorite color, but because also it's very strong as a color. It draws the eye. So in an effort to help draw the eyes of the entirety of the armor, I figured not just the helmet visor, not just the gauntlets, but a little bit on the legs just a little bit, one knee pad, and maybe something with the one of the thigh armor pieces. And also, I figured the shoulder pads being both orange look better than one being gray and one being orange to me, but that's personal opinion. And I thought it helped channel the eye around the full armor. You go from the helmet, let's say, and you glance down, you see the shoulders are also orange, you see more of the armor, you see the gauntlets are orange wherever the hands are, and then you see that, oh, there's stuff going on with the knee and everything else, and you get to kind of have your eye be trained to all of the armor, not just some orange bits across the armor. Hopefully, that's the idea. I also realized that I would have to, not have to, but I should incorporate some traditional leathery brown look as well, because too much of a gray or a black leathery thing is just too much. So, hence the holster and the belt. In any case, it took me several iterations to settle on this concept, right? In terms of, yes, heavy armor for the torso and shoulders and whatever else, and this arrangement of colors and so on. Part of the research and planning stages is also looking into, of course, what you would need, right? What type of boots? What helmet? Are you going to 3D print stuff? Well, I don't have a 3D printer. Well, I'll be buying 3D printed parts. And the answer to that is yes for some of this, for sure. Or most of it, maybe, because that's a great resource nowadays. But it starts the whole movement of looking into the pieces you need and where you can acquire it. So all of that all stems from research and planning, and all that stems from the inspirational push to just take that next step forward and just go. At the end of the day, for something